Midjourney has rolled out its new consistent character feature. You can now create characters that look consistent across different scenarios using their new character reference feature. However, there are two glaring omissions that should concern content creators that want to make AI-generated films, storybooks, manga, or graphic novels. But don't worry, I have the solution. I call it the VariPose Connect Method. I'll start by outlining how the Midjourney Character Reference feature works to create consistent characters, and then I'll cover where it falls short and, most importantly, what you can do to overcome those omissions, especially if you want your characters to interact. So how does the Midjourney Character Reference feature work? You start with a base image. You can either load it into Midjourney or use an existing image you created previously. If you upload an image from outside Midjourney, it will automatically change the face so it doesn't exactly replicate the original. This is likely to be a safeguard to ensure that you aren't creating deep fakes of a real person. Here's the image I used. I created Jessica for one of my previous videos. Here's the general workflow for using their method. First, you start with your basic image. Copy the URL of that image. Next, write a prompt to put your character in a particular setting or pose. The next step is crucial. Add --cref to the end of your prompt and add the URL you copied in step 2. The last step is optional. Add a character weight using --cw to the end of your prompt. Here's how it works in practice. Here's the prompt I used with the cref URL. Jessica reads a book on the bus --cref. I insert my URL. You should get 4 variations using the same character. The character weight parameter modifies the strength of the consistency. It ranges from 0 to 100. 0 focuses on the face only. This is useful if you want to change to a different outfit, hair, etc. You can describe their outfit and the setting in your prompt. 100 is the default and uses the face, hair, and clothes of the character in your base image. This is how much of your base image character will carry over to the new image. In both Discord and the website, you add --cw to the end of your prompt. Here's another base image I used. It's Jessica, the fast food worker that I created in a different video. I added --cw 100 to the end of my prompt. And here's the result. It kept some of her clothing like the red cap, but it didn't keep her yellow shirt. Notice how the red-yellow color combination from the base image is reflected in the color of her book. The characters are all consistent with each other, but maybe not the same as the base image. And here's the result when I used CW0. This time, she's not wearing the cap, but the yellow-red coloring is still reflected in the coloring of her book and her clothing in the first image. The characters all look consistent with each other, but aren't the same as the original image. When you use CW0, it mainly just pulls through the face. This is a huge leap forward for Midjourney, but there are 2 big issues I noticed. First, it doesn't reliably replicate clothing and other smaller details. This might not be a big issue if you're creating single images of your character in different environments, but it is a big deal if you want your character to look the same from one scene to the next, like in an AI-generated film or a graphic novel. You would have to stick with using simple clothing to avoid continuity issues. And second, you can't create multiple consistent characters in one scene. This is also a major issue if you're hoping to create more than one character that stays consistent in your story or film. I will outline not 1, but 2 fixes for this issue. Here's an example of inconsistent costumes. I used the first Jessica basic image from earlier in this video, and I used the following prompt. Jessica explores the surface of the moon in a red and blue astronaut suit. I used CW0 at the end of the prompt to only pull through her face. Notice how all 4 astronaut suits have a different design? I really like the first image, but I can't replicate that exact design. However, I've worked out a method that does keep clothing consistent in addition to keeping character consistency. First, create a split image from your base image. I used this prompt. Split screen photo of same woman, Jessica, exploring the surface of the moon in a red and blue astronaut suit. I set the aspect ratio to 2:1 and I pasted the CREF URL from my original base image along with CW0. Here's the result. Notice how closely the suits match. It's not quite 100% perfect though. Second step, copy the image URL of the split image you just created. With the image still open, click on the Vary region button. Next step, paint over the image on the left. Be careful not to overlap with the image on the right, otherwise it will extend the image on the right out over the left image. Now paste the URL of the split image that you copied previously and paste it into the start of your prompt. This will ensure that your character will appear in the new image that you create on the left-hand side. Next, modify the prompt and describe the new setting in action. Jessica in a lunar roving vehicle. You can also remove the CREF parameter and the CW weight. Here are the results with Jessica in a lunar roving vehicle. From here you can select one of these images. This time, I'll paint over the image on the right. I'll click on the Vary region button again. This time, make sure that you paint over the entire right image and overlap the figure on the left. This will extend your new image to fill the entire area. From there, you can zoom out using the 2x button so you can see more of the vehicle. Here are the results. Although there are slight differences in the details of the suit when using this method, the differences are very minimal compared to what you see when you use Character Ref on its own. Just make sure that your original split screen image is giving you the best results. So that seems to work well with one consistent character. But how about 2 or more consistent characters? You might now ask yourself, can I create multiple consistent characters in one scene using Character Reference? Sorry, the answer is no. Character Reference only works on one character at a time. If you try using 2 CREF URLs, it will blend them together. It's okay though. I have not one, but 2 different solutions. First up, we have the pan method. You use CREF on one character first, then add the second character by panning to the left, right, up or down. This will paint in that direction and you add a new character using a different CREF URL in your prompt. This works better in Discord, as a prompt box will pop up when you pan if you have remix mode turned on in your settings. You can then insert changes into the prompt box before submitting. I started with this base image, an astronaut on a salt flat. With the image open in Discord, I clicked on the right pan button. I then adjusted the prompt to 2 different astronauts. I also added, the astronaut on the right is in his mid-20s with thin mustache, also wearing a white spacesuit with red and white visor. I included an image link to this new character and included CW0 to only pull through his face. Here's the result. The new character appears to the right of the first character. Without specifying, it's even matched his spacesuit to the one the first character was wearing. However, the problem is that these 2 characters won't interact easily as each character has to be created separately. And that leads us to my second solution, which I think is a better solution, the VariPose Connect Method. Using the pan solution may be fine for some situations, but it doesn't allow those characters to interact, like embracing or kissing, like these images, which I created using the VariPose Connect method. I covered this method in more detail in a previous method which I'll link to here. The method for multiple characters is similar to the one we used for one character. Create a split screen image of your couple. Copy the URL of that image. Use the Vary button to paint over one of the images. Paste the URL from step 2 into the start of your prompt. Modify the prompt with your new setting or pose. Paint over the other split image. Insert blank white background to paint over the original split image. Optionally, zoom out or change aspect ratio. Here's the prompt. 2 different poses of an Asian American couple, Jenny and Ken. They are embracing and smiling at each other, isolated on a blank white background. Split screen photo from 2 different angles. Copy the URL of that image. Use the Vary button to paint over one of the images. Paste the URL from step 2 into the start of your prompt. Modify the prompt with your new setting or pose. Use the Vary button. Paint over the other split image. Insert blank white background. Optionally, zoom out or change aspect ratio. If you'd like more detail on this method, you can check out my article on Medium, which I'll link in the description, or you can check out my previous video, which goes into a lot more detail. Thanks, and see you next time.